Hello and welcome to this week's edition of In Print, the Chronicle's new online feature where we take a quick look behind the scenes of the stories making the news this week. We'll start with the front page. Mark, you've been covering a story about the travelling people who've been using the Barnet A-frame as a campsite. Would fill us in on the latest.
Yeah, they arrived last week. They've actually left now. They left yesterday, that Tuesday afternoon. They were there for about 5 days, but that's the sixth time in 18 months that they've been at the Barnet A-frame site. Well, they didn't leave much mess this time. They've left a lot of controversy, and people are saying it's about time it was a designated site for them when they do arrive in East Ayrshire.
It's a bit of a memorial site, I think, isn't it? So it's not really appropriate. Has there been any attempt to find a kind of permanent home for them in the past?
Well, there was a couple of years ago. They tried to find a home for them in Muirkirk off Furness Road, but it went to a committee, but obviously a lot of objections to it, and it was actually thrown out. And I think the council are still looking for a site for them. They say they're in the process of trying to do something, but at the moment it's hit a bit of a stalemate because it's such a sensitive issue, and to find a site that would suit everybody is very difficult, and I think the council are finding that just now. Also on the front page this week there's some potentially good news for open cast workers, is that right, David?
Yes, this is the latest on ETH Resources. They've been, their debts have been bought by a major energy company called Hargreaves, who are from the north east of England. They've bought the debts of a company called Better Capital, who got involved last year just before ETH went into administration. So hopefully this could mean a bit of stability for them finally, because it's been a long time, but all this uncertainty.
Very complicated, isn't it? But Adam Ingram seems to think, the local MSB seems to think it's good news and it should safeguard jobs.
Yes, we spoke to Adam Ingram. He's been following this story since the start, and he's been involved with the workers, and he says that Hargreaves are quite a big company, they've got a good reputation in the mining world, and he says that it should mean good news for the jobs. Hargreaves themselves, they say that the jobs will be safe while they go through a bit of a review of the business, so wait and see. We'll obviously be bringing the latest when we have it.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Also in this week's Chronicle inside the paper we've got a story about a local butcher's, some potentially good news for them, the Afton Glen Meats.
Yes, this is Afton Glen Meats up in Newcomnock. It's shut just at New Year, but it's going to be opening again on Monday coming. I think that's Monday the 11th. This is the shop manager called Neil Fenny. He's bought it over, and well, he's leased it. He's not bought it, but he's going to be taking charge, and it's going to be opening up. So that's good news for the people of Newcomnock for this shop.
Also this week you were talking to some of the local butchers in the sort of light of the horse meat scandal, and it's been good for their business, is that right? I
believe so, yeah. We've been speaking to a few of them after all the news obviously that's been in the papers and on the television about horse meat, and the local butchers have seen a massive rise in the people using their services. Terelgan, which is a farm butchers up near Cohall, they've seen their stuff actually double sales, so that's good. And Pollock Williamson as well, have a shop here in Cumnock. They've also seen massive rises, so long may that continue.
Is that a bit of trust then, the local butcher?
I think so, yeah, I hope so. So we'll wait and see if people stick with them now that they've gone back. Good. Insider Sport this week, there's I believe there's more bad news for Craig Mark, one of the local junior teams. Mark, you want to fill us in the latest?
Well, this has been an ongoing saga now for a number of months, but this week Derek Carruthers, the president, revealed that the club have got a meeting with junior game chiefs next week about a £200 fine that they haven't paid. They're disputing the fine, but that's really just the tip of the iceberg because debts are mounting up. They've had to cut their training to 1 day a week because they can't afford £45 a night for one of their sessions. And just really the reality is that this club is close to closing down unless something dramatic happens over the next 3 or 4 weeks. So we speak to Derek in depth, and also to the manager Laurie Crofty, who's on the verge of resigning. He's going to review his situation over the next 2 or 3 weeks, but he basically says we're just making up the numbers and we can't compete, so this can't go on basically.
It'd be a real shame for them. So what else is happening in the sport?
Well, this week we speak to Tommy Sloan again after another victory. They remain 2 points clear at the top of the league with 3 games in hand. Obviously Tommy's saying all the right things, they're taking nothing for granted. This weekend they've got a game against Irvine Meadow. They're 22 points ahead of their rivals, but Tommy Sloan's not taking any for granted because they've had a lot of tough games against Meadow in the past, and obviously Meadow won the league last year and they beat Talbot in the Ardaglass Cup earlier in the season, so it's a tough game for Talbot, but if they want to win the league, this is the sort of game they're going to have to win, I think.
And what about Cumnock? What are they up to this week?
They've got Saltcoats Victoria in the Ayrshire Weekly Cup Press. It's not probably the biggest game on their, in their calendar over the next 3 or 4 weeks. They've obviously got the Scottish Cup game against Shotts the week after, and they've also got a relegation battle to think about. But Brian McCluskey, the manager, says they're focused on Saltcoats at the weekend and he won't be making too many changes, and it's a game and a competition they're desperate to win.